morning, Twin Cities. Welcome to your Sunday. We're glad you're here, and welcome to Reckoning with Real Estate, a show about the American dream and building a better real estate company. I am here again with Mark Byers and Taylor Hall. Good morning.
Good morning.
Welcome. Our last episode, we unpacked the Realtor brand. So for our listeners, if you haven't listened to that, you may want to go back. It's pretty meaty, pretty juicy. We think it's pretty descriptive about the Realtor brand. And we're going to start this episode kind of highlighting what we talked about the last episode, and then we're going to move into what it means to be a rec agent. And talk about maybe our downsizing class, maybe legalizing starter homes. Who knows where we're going to go, but we hope you'll stay around for the next 30 minutes. So unpacking the Realtor brand, who wants to start with kind of, I don't know, there are a few main points we talked about. Being part of the mob was one of them.
Yeah, that's a feeling I have when I'm a part of many associations, but specifically the realtor associations, where you don't have much control, but they want to take your money.
Yeah.
Or you get some benefits, but maybe not as much as they think they're giving you. And you have little say. You have to pay.
You have to pay. And do you want to say more about why you have to? So kind of to back it up, you get your license.
Yes.
90 hours of a class. Pass a couple exams, you're a real estate agent.
Yep. And then to become a realtor, you have to pay extra fees right off from day one, take a class, like a 2-day class. And with that, you do get, we talked about this last episode, you get the benefits of having access to all of the forms, having access to all the MLS listings, which are great. But then there's not much else that comes with it. And they're advocating in Congress for things that we don't necessarily agree with. The associations are.
Yes, they're advocating at Congress. They're advocating at the state level.
Yeah.
For realtor brand policies that unless you show up to the meetings, and even when you do show up to the meetings, you just don't have a lot of say.
Yeah, because you're pretty active, or you have been.
Paige
has been very active.
Past tense.
Yes.
Yeah.
And your voice was never really considered.
Nope, it was not. It was not. And almost every email that we get, and you guys get them too, from like the National Association of Realtors, from Minnesota, from SPAR, our local association, at least recently, the ones from the national, let your voice be heard. We want to hear your voice. I just delete because... Do you really? I mean, my experience, like you said, is
they don't.
They don't. Mm-hmm. They don't. And it's very, one thing we didn't talk about last time, it's a very top-down association. And to join, when you join, you're part of the 3-way agreement, the local, the state, and the national. And a lot of the directives are coming from the national and coming down through the state and then landing at the local associations. Mm-hmm. So it's incredibly top down.
Yeah.
And they like to pretend that it's not.
And that is, everything is for your benefit.
Mm-hmm. Right. They have and I will say their website, the National Association of Realtors, their website is exhaustive. There is so much information on it, but I know no one who actively uses it, because we're all so busy serving our clients and, getting new clients. And so the mob, it's a little bit, it's mandatory that you join if you want to have access to the MLS and the forms.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I feel like, too, there's like this maybe intangible or unseen thing that I would say on top of all of that is being part of this image that's out there in the public.
I
mean, obviously you watch any shows or anything, and the way that they portray a realtor is sometimes like you don't necessarily want to be portrayed that way. But we've all had it. We've all seen it, right? And I know it's a stylized version of kind of how that is. But as you're joining all of this, you're like, I don't know that I want to be part of this weird image that sort of goes on, right? And
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
way the general public sees and just the overall attitude of expectations of realtors and way they act and all of that sort of stuff. And it's kind of like totally takes it away from, I mean, the consumers are just like, really? It's almost seems like they're a joke sometimes.
So I am super glad you brought that point up, and maybe a challenge to you both and to our listeners. If you go to our website, therecolab.com, there's a way to contact us and put in a note. If you can think of one like literary reference or movie reference or TV reference where a realtor is portrayed in a good light, bring it, because I literally can't think of one. And we were talking on the way here that Jury Duty, that show, I think it's one of the more brilliant TV shows ever in the history of TV. And I tend to be hyperbolic, but that it's so good. But their new season, Company Retreat, they are throwing realtors, and it's always realtor. That's what they call them, realtors. It's not a real estate agent or a real estate agent company or a real estate company. It's realtors. I mean, it is a thread through at least all the episodes I've watched. And it's really bad. I mean, it's so funny. But yeah, we're not portrayed well in popular culture.
Yeah. And I think there's good reasons for that. And I mean, and that's why we're here. We're reckoning with real estate to try and build it and do better.
Yeah, I remember my first Tuesday sales meeting at one of the big box brokers that I had joined initially. I walked in and my first thought was like, oh, I'm going to have to accessorize more.
Right. Yeah.
And I did for like 2 or 3 years. I bought like the jewelry and the necklaces. And if you all like could see me now, I mean, I wear the same pair of earrings every day, same rings. I'm not an accessory person, but I really thought that's, oh gosh, I need to do that if I'm going to be part of this group and be a true realtor.
Yeah. And have that specific image that we all have. And
and we were, even on the way here, we were like, do you have to have the right kind of car? Right, that shows off this image that comes off right, and if you don't have that, then are you not successful? And does that success something that's client driven, right?
Yeah,
off the backs of clients, right? I mean, you would think, oh, they are successful, so they sell a lot. Well, who are they making that money off of?
Yeah,
right?
Yeah. Well, and to be fair, I mean, and this is probably a good place for a disclaimer too. I mean, anything we say about realtors is really about the industry and how the industry is structured and not about individual real estate agents, because there are, I mean, I know a ton of them, and I know a ton of professional ones and really dedicated ones. So we're not, slamming individual real estate agents or realtors. But yeah, now I lost my train of thought.
It's just kind of more the image that's portrayed more than the specifics that actually has. Because when you actually get down into it, a lot of that is just an image thing that has been picked up somehow in the greater public or whatever. When you get to the weeds of it, that's not usually the case for a lot of it. For a lot of them.
And I think that's why we started the Real Estate Collaborative. And honestly, it took me, I think we all, it sounds like, had the same experience of becoming realtors. Like we knew, God, we're not portrayed well. And why is that? And Taylor, you mentioned a few minutes ago that it's our own fault. Like it's the associations, it's the realtor brand. There was 3, 4, 5 years ago, the tagline for the realtor brand from the National Association of Realtors was ride in with the brand. And on the front of our magazine, Just wait till you see. It was the then president on his motorcycle, and he toured the United States on his motorcycle and had little pep rallies throughout the United States, including here. I did not go, to state the obvious, but I know people who did. And I remember seeing that and being like, that's it. That is why riding with the brand. The only thing that could have made it worse if he had had a little lady on the back with him.
Yeah.
Right.
Which he didn't.
Which is just insane because that has nothing to do with what our job is, which is to help people find homes and make one of the biggest decisions of their life.
Yeah.
Like, I don't understand where that came from.
Yeah, I don't know either. It's evolved over time to become something that I think culminated then in the consumer lawsuits in 2024.
Yeah.
Where consumers are just like, God, we've had it. This isn't okay. And the percentages feel predatory.
Yep.
The percentage commissions, and why is as the seller, am I paying for the buyer broker representation when they're negotiating against me? So just all of it. So yes, the brand, we've kind of done it to ourselves, and what we're doing at REC now at the Real Estate Collaborative is unpacking it all. And okay. And it's we've been at it for like 3 years and we're still evolving. And I think I said this last episode, but having you guys join as new agents, brand new agents, has been super helpful in terms of having the fresh perspective, because when you're a fish in water, you don't realize you're in water, right? And that's kind of how I spent probably the first 15 years of my real estate career. I was a fish in water, and simultaneously I was drinking Kool-Aid.
Yeah.
Kind of both things were happening. So
and I just think that we're asking the questions that a lot of realtors don't ask, of why things have been done a certain way and how we can make it better. And I'm excited because the genius of our collaborative group, we've come out with our driving change kind of tagline for the year. Is that's what our goal is to drive change. And we're going to be sending out some postcards to some people with questions to ask.
Yep.
Your local realtors, questions to ask us. And I'm excited for that.
Yeah. And that's a great segue into the break. We're going to have a short break, and then we're going to come back on the other side, and we'll talk about why realtors don't ask the questions.
Yeah.
So we'll see you in a few minutes.
Ring through the night. Oh, what a sight. Wrecking balls in flight, bringing down the light.
Welcome back to Reckoning with Real Estate, a show about the American dream and building a better real estate company. I am Paige Kale with the Real Estate Collaborative, and Mark and Taylor with the Real Estate Collaborative are here as well. Hello again.
Hello.
Last segment, we talked about kind of unpacking what it means to be a realtor and how we're perceived in popular culture. And why is that? Because it's not coming from nowhere. And Taylor, you mentioned, most realtors don't ask the questions, which is what we're doing at REC. We're asking the questions and then kind of formulating a different type of real estate agent called a REC agent that just does things very, very different than the realtor brand. But why do we think that realtors don't ask the questions that we're asking?
I have a couple thoughts on this, and I'm wondering, my first instinct was that we wouldn't ask, people don't ask questions because it interrupts your cash flow, right? Because if you ask questions about why is it 2.7%, why is it 3.3%, because nothing has changed and it's still a total of 6% of your housing cost is going to the brokers, no matter what people are saying, which is illegal. that there's no negotiation. And that makes it hard to ask questions when it's your livelihood. And, you know, real estate can be inconsistent. And so it can be scary to lower prices when you don't know, I mean, when your next paycheck is coming. But at the same time, I'm wondering if some real estate agents or realtors do ask the questions, but they're talking with people who've been in the industry forever and who have been drinking the Kool-Aid forever. And even though you're asking the questions, you might just be getting these regurgitated answers.
You're getting the scripts.
You're getting the scripts back.
The scripts, which the realtor brand loves talking about, the scripts that you're supposed to serve the customers and the clients, which in and of itself is not authentic and I think speaks to the realtor brand.
Yeah. Like, can you really be listening to people and answering their questions if you just have a list of scripts, like word for word, what you're supposed to say to each question, which just doesn't serve people.
Totally. And I think part of it too may just be this is part of the system itself, because maybe they're not asking the questions because they get thrown into the machine of how it's always been done so quickly. And to one, you have these upfront costs that you have to start recouping because they just keep coming, right? There's a monthly, and it's just the only way to do it is just here's the system that we have in place and here's how it's done. And so like questions, you have to need time to think through that stuff. And if your time is all spent just working what's already there, and you have to sort of have options available, other options that are out there to even be able to question the core of what's being given inside of the model. And if there is no other, you know, real estate collaborative or and people doing something differently, you're just going to go from one place to another and get put from one machine to the next. So what, even if you do have questions to ask, and you get gaslighted with the answers. And you've got to make a living.
Well, and my experience was, again, it took me probably at year 10 or 12, I started questioning, but that's a long time to start coming up with the questions and start questioning the system and start questioning the brand. And you both said a lot that I think we should kind of follow up on. Taylor, you mentioned, you know, once you're in it, the percentages, I mean, it's how you're making your money. So then to question it would be to potentially make less money. Which is a hard prospect because I think as Americans, we tend to live as high as our income is. And then to backtrack is hard. Just the reality of it. And Mark, you mentioned, you know, you have a lot of upfront costs as a realtor, and we talked about the churn and burn of real estate agents in the industry, of realtors in the industry, which is like, it's a little bit like a human puppy mill. That's how I like to think of it.
Because what are these upfront costs? Are our association dues, our access to the MLS, and then there's the big box brokerages that charge you a desk fee, and those range. I've never worked for a big box brokerage, so I don't know what those are. Thank goodness. But you're paying those regardless of if you're selling.
And then you make your first sale maybe 6 months in, if you're lucky.
And then what the brokerage takes,
and all of that
50% of that on top of what they've already
been. So it is, and brokerages and associations, I do think make a lot. I mean, it would be interesting if the information was available to the public. It would be interesting to see how much of the money that brokerages make and associations make off the first year agents, who then it's something like 75% are out of the business after 1 year. It's high. It's really, really high. And yet the brokerages or a lot of the brokerages, not all of them, but a lot of them, definitely the associations have made a ton of money off of them. So.
And we haven't even started talking about the elephant with the large portal sites of the Zillows and all of the other predatory organizations. That is a foreshadowing for a future episode of 2 of this extra cost that is also on top of all of this, that's just eating out of
Mhm.
Yeah,
everybody's pockets, that's just going straight to the consumer. When we get into that, it's going to be like a whole thing to talk about.
Mhm.
yeah, because all of this is keeping the prices inflated, where realtors believe that they have to charge what we've always charged.
Right.
Whereas at Rec, we're trying to build a different model where we're saying maybe
Mhm.
we don't have to charge that much, and we can be more transparent and more ethical and still be a functional company.
Right. Still be profitable, still
Yeah.
be able to, you know, live our lives and put food on the table and all of that, but not have it be the percentages, which, you know, the percentages as housing values rise.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if we look back to 2020 and the median home price in the Twin Cities has risen over $100,000.
It's insane.
That's a ton more money if you're still operating on the percentages,
Mhm.
which all the big box brokers still do. So, right, at REC, we're doing flat dollar amounts. When you sign a contract with us, you know what you're going to be paying us. We don't do the broker admin fee, which most of the big box brokers and some of the smaller brokers do, where it's in addition to the percentage, you're paying some admin fee that's $500 to $1,000 probably, which
Yep.
is, you know, I don't know, it's a major kitchen appliance that you could put in your new house or, you know, fund your retirement account if you're a seller.
Mm-hmm.
So it's real money, and we want to do things more transparently, more ethically, and more consumer centered.
Yes.
What are the other consumer centered things that we do at REC?
Yeah, I mean, I think going back to what she was saying in the last segment, just asking the questions alone, like the reasons for that is so we can be informative to the consumer, right? Because I think a lot of the consumers in general don't even know the questions to ask.
Right.
And so they just get put into whatever it is. And so by us being willing to ask the questions and passing those answers to the
Yes.
consumer and giving them transparency and options, right?
Yeah.
You do have more options than just going into that.
Yeah. So what Mark is referring to, our 2026 marketing campaign, or one of them, is asking questions and sending out the questions that consumers can ask of their realtors,
Mm-hmm.
whether it's us or a big box broker or a small broker. And something you said, Mark, made me think that, you know, because I think consumers, you know, if a consumer is looking to sell their house and they talk to 3 different realtors, they're going to be sold the exact same thing.
Mm-hmm. It's all the same.
Yeah. So and I mean, we live in a capitalist society, or an economy, a capitalist economy, where kind of the name of the game is pricing and competition.
Mm-hmm.
Hence, you know, the lawsuit in 2024 against the National Association of Realtors that was, you know, an anti-competition, you know, it was an antitrust. The charge was that there wasn't enough competition. Well, sure enough,
Nothing's changed.
and yeah, it's still the same, and everybody is still doubling down on this is the way it needs to be done. And
because of the scripts that we've
because of the
been fed
scripts, because of the Kool-Aid, because of the profits,
Yep.
you know, and big companies are gobbling up other big companies to kind of secure their position and secure their profits. It's an interesting time to be in real estate, for sure. Lots of stuff going on. And I mean, if any of our listeners want to go onto LinkedIn, that's where I follow a lot of there are not a lot of real estate agents or companies locally that I'm aware of that are kind of disrupting the system, but there are a lot nationally. And so if you go onto LinkedIn, you can there are a lot of voices on there. Wendy Gilch, Bill Wendell, Stephen Colano, a lot of voices on there that are questioning the system. and trying to kind of make change. The one thing I say, we're going to end here in about a minute, but now I lost my thought. But the idea that, when I was with the big box brokers, any company or any realtor that charged less than that 6% or less than the 2.7% for buyers was called a discount broker. They were considered a hack. You weren't going to get full service. And we are just here to say we charge less than the big box brokers, and we are very much full service. We are not a discount brokerage. So that's another script, another kind of thing that you're sold when you're with the big box brokers, which is also interesting. But we're going to continue this conversation next Sunday. So if you've enjoyed this conversation, please listen to us next Sunday, or you can find us on any of the podcast platforms, and we will see you then.
Yeah. See ya.
Wrecking ball, you steal the show.